Lord, today I thank you for our veterans, for their willingness to risk all so that our nation might dwell in peace and safety. I thank you for the service of all veterans that came out today. I pray that you will heal the physical, spiritual, and psychological wounds some of these veterans have suffered. Comfort those who mourn the loss of their brothers. Help them to find your love and mercy so that they may cope with the actions they may have had to take while they served our country. Make them realize that the rules of engagement in war may seem contrary to your word, but give them comfort that you have made known sometimes battle is necessary for the common good. We ask you to protect our troops currently serving, strengthen them with your power, and minister to their spirits. May their cause be just. May our leaders have clear vision and seek wise counsel. May the courage of the soldier never falter. Encourage and strengthen their spirit, soul, and body in the execution of their duties and responsibilities. I pray that nothing would take them by surprise, but that they would be aware of all potential aggression. Enable them to curtail hostile actions before they start. Reveal to military leaders the strategies and plots that enemies would wage. May the response to any aggression by enemies of this nation be swift, accurate, and effective. Let them return to their loved ones unharmed. Should any be harmed, may their wounds heal. Should they perish in the struggle, please embrace them and find them in a place in your kingdom. Father, give our military favor with the governmental agencies of this country. I pray that our Congress would appropriate sufficient funds to keep our nation's military preeminent and strong in the world. Thank you, Lord, for providing America with the best trained, equipped, and lead military force in the world today. Finally, Father, to all our veterans, may they find the honor and recognition truly deserved. Fill our soldiers, past and present, with your saving grace and the gospel of peace, that they may be shining witnesses of your heavenly love. Show us ways to communicate to our communities, churches, and families to thank and love them better. In the powerful name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Would you please join me for a pledge of allegiance?
I guess was always brought up to believe in this country.
The greatest country on earth.
I've always had an immense amount of pride in our country. I'm a third-generation military member. As a kid, I wanted to serve. It just makes sense to me. It's home.
I was 18, the 21st of April in '43. 2 weeks later, I got my letter from Mr. Presidente. And this picture here was taken on the outer edge of Manila. The USS Munda was a baby flat-top carrier, first one they built. Picked us up in San Diego and we took off for the South Pacific.
I chose to go to Vietnam, serve my country. That was me when I first went over to Vietnam. We did a lot of traveling in Hueys. Four on each side, sitting out with your feet hanging out.
I believe in freedom. It's part of my, it's part of my values, and so, in a word, freedom. And I believe that's worth dying for. That's, at the end of the day, that's what I believe.
These all in here was taken on Mindanao. The next morning they called out a detail of 12 people. We loaded on a aircraft and flew to Bougainville, and that's where I joined the squadron at. VMSB 236 was a dive bomber squadron. We was one of the first groups that had the M1 rifle.
What unifies our military is, at the end of the day, it's what we do is it's not a game. Ultimately, there's a loss of life, and I think my first real experience serving in the AOR and serving in a combat arena, I really came to understand that when a life is involved, everybody will drop everything, and like I said, there is not a question about who they are, but how can we help them.
It's a Marine Corps insignia is what it is. I don't care what branch of the service you're in, you're all there for the same reason.
We all fight for the common goal, and that is, one, our nation, and two, for each other.
Oh. Yeah, this is a combat infantry badge. And this is the wings where I was an airborne trooper, a paratrooper. Every once in a while, people will still come up to me, and if they see my Vietnam hat or whatever, and say thank you for your service. And that still means a lot.
You know, when people thank me, I always remind them it's an honor to serve. Everything that I have in my life and everything that I have in my family came from service.
I'd do it all over again if I had to. Every Veterans Day, the older I get, I think the more important it comes to me.
Veterans Day means to me is a time to honor everybody who came forward. They were willing to pay up to everything, including their life.
That's my Bronze Star with V for Valor, and that's the Air Medal.
So we're celebrating those 1%ers that recognize the need to serve our nation. My name is Troy Taylor, and I'm a veteran of Global War on Terror.
Stephen A. Evans, a veteran of the Vietnam War.
Richard Wayne Motter. I'm a veteran of World War II.
I got it slightly out of order, but we're going to have music right now from Brant and Isabella.
Thank you very much for inviting me back. And as you know, this has been a really tough year for veterans, non-veterans, and for the world. Today, I'd like to say that as another Veterans Day approaches, Americans of every stripe have the opportunity to celebrate the sacrifice, the selflessness that radiates from all military veterans. Military veterans are those people who have signed and taken an oath to give their life for their country. Now, I served with the 173rd Airborne in Vietnam in 1967 and in 1968. I came home in the summer of '68. When I first got into the military, I was drafted. And like a lot of draft people, I just wanted to serve my time and get out. And somebody had told me if you sign up for an extra year, you'll go to Germany. Well, that wasn't true. They told me if you went airborne, and you went to Ranger School, and you went to Panama Jungle School, you'd go to Germany. I should have known when they said Panama Jungle School. Didn't work out that way. I went to the 82nd Airborne after all my training, and then later on I was shipped to the 173rd Airborne Brigade in Vietnam. My first remembrance is being in a deuce and a half, going through a place called the Ankh Pass. We're headed to Ankh, and from Tuiwa. And there was a lady squatting in the yard, using it as the bathroom, waving to the truck. And I thought to myself, don't they have indoor plumbing? Turned out that I guess that's the way they fertilize some of the things there. And you think about us veterans who have fought there, going through the rice paddies, and what was in those rice paddies when you had to lay flat down, and the snakes, the lizards, centipedes this long out in the jungle. I was an infantry man. I wasn't a single man. I wasn't in the rear. When we got to Alabama, we flew to other places in the area. One place was called Calumet Province, a place called Doctor. That was a bad situation up there. But to give you an idea how treacherous the jungles are, and I know there are Vietnam veterans here, and they can tell you this also. We wore 110 to 125 pounds of weight on our backs. We had to sit down and put our rucksacks on. We put our rucksacks on, we sit down, we get them on, and then the guy in front of you will pull you up. Sometimes we had to carry machine gunner, M60 machine gunners ammo. We had to carry our own ammo. When I first got there, I was a grenadier. I carried an M79 grenade launcher. That's a lot. I carried 80 of them. And I carried more than you're supposed to. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to. And I did that for a while, a couple of months, and then traded off with somebody else, a newbie that came in, and he got to do it. But I remember sitting on a trail in Vietnam on my rucksack, leaning against my rucksack. We were taking a break, and I had just switched off with another guy as being point man. And I had my legs sitting out in front of me, and a snake comes right out and goes across my legs. Well, over there in most of the world, we call it the three-step viper. Now, there's a reason for that, and that's because this three-step viper bites you, and you can take 3 steps and your life is over with. There was a story where there was a guy with the ox carts out in front, and an ox in the back of that cart, and him back there, and it bit the first 2 oxen, and then it bit the 3rd oxen, and all 3 oxen died. And the 3rd guy, or the guy in the back of the oxen in the back, got bit, but he survived. And that's because most of the venom was used on 3 oxen. So that's how dangerous the place was. There were tigers, there were elephants, there were monkeys in the jungle. There were all the things that you dream about that you don't want to be around in the jungle. We slept in our helmet. We didn't have, like you see in the movies, hooches where you can lay down in and stuff like that. We carried a poncho, which is something you put over your head, and if it started raining, well, you put the poncho on. Your body would get soaked. Your skin would turn completely white. In the heat, when you're going through the jungle, your jungle fatigues would turn white. You had to take salt pills every day. It was not a picnic. And the veterans have gone through so much. But there's a lot of Americans who don't know much about Veterans Day. And what's worse, many confuse it with Memorial Day. Only through recognizing the true meaning and history of Veterans Day can Americans properly honor our veterans. Veterans Day began as what? Armistice Day, which was initially a date celebrated to end World War I. By the way, World War I was supposed to be the war of all wars. We're not going to have any more wars. Well, we know that's not true. The Armistice, or resolution ending the armed conflict of the Great War, took place on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And so each Veterans Day is held on November 11th, that date marking the end of the war to end all wars. But after World War II and the Korean War, Congress chose to, under the guidance of crucial veteran service organizations like the American Legion and Disabled American Veterans Group, Veterans of Foreign Wars, AMVETS, and a few others, they ditched the word armistice and switched it out with veterans. So it was Veterans Day now. President Dwight D. Eisenhower made it official by signing a law reflecting the change on June 1st, 1954, and it's been Veterans Day ever since. Memorial Day, which is reserved for the last Monday in May, is a date set aside to honor and remember those who have died in service to the nation, not to be confused with our Veterans Day. Now, I was pretty upset with some legislations, but I noticed that Florida, New Jersey, and Virginia has passed some interesting legislation. And I bring this up because the spouses of veterans are not entitled to a lot of the benefits that that veteran gets. When the veteran dies, some of these spouses have to pay the property taxes. They no longer have that exemption. Now, just recently, Florida passed a bill which would extend a property tax discount for combat disabled veterans to their surviving spouses in the event of their death. Can you imagine the poor spouse in a house, the veteran's getting that big tax break on his house, and then he passes away, and then the spouse has to pay that. And a lot of times the spouse can't. So veterans are not done fighting. In New Jersey, public question 2 would make veterans who served in peacetime eligible for a $250 property deduction, currently available only to combat veterans. You know, that measure passed 76.3% of the counted votes as of November 4th. And in Virginia, ballot question 2 would create a vehicle tax exemption for disabled vets. Now, a lot of states already have this. A measure designed to ease the cost burden for vets whose disability required them to purchase specially modified vehicles. The tax break would apply to one vehicle or pickup truck for any veteran who has 100% service-connected permanent disability documented by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So, as you can see, state by state, the war goes on. Now, also, I'd like to mention this. When did all this start? Well, it started in 1789, to be exact. The new U.S. government passes legislation ensuring pensions for disabled Revolutionary War veterans. And actually, there was a lot of political turmoil over that. There were, back then even, there were politicians who didn't want to give the veterans anything. In 1812, first naval home facility for disabled veterans opened in Philadelphia. And as you know now, we have our Lafayette Veterans Home here in Indiana. In 1833, Congress established the Bureau of Pensions to assist veterans. And the list goes on and on and on. In 1962, during the Civil War, Congress passed a bill allowing the president to purchase land for national cemeteries. And let's get up a little bit closer, and of course in 1984, U.S. President Ronald Reagan signs a bill requiring the VA to pay benefits to Vietnam veterans suffering from different types of illnesses possibly caused by Agent Orange. And they're still fighting over the causes of Agent Orange. But notice it was 1984 when this happened. When did the Vietnam War end? 1975. It took 9 years. So it's a constant battle. Right now, the veterans that are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq are suffering from multiple different things, exposure to chemicals, the burn pits. You probably heard about the burn pits. So we're continually fighting to get these benefits for these veterans. My question is, how long are they going to wait? Until most of them die off? We're not going to let that happen this time. We're going to continue to fight for that. We're not going to let any of this. Now, in 1991, U.S. President George W. Bush signed into law a bill compensating Vietnam veterans exposed to Agent Orange as suffering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or soft tissue sarcoma. It took that much time from the original bill in 1984 to get that passed. So it's a constant fight for the veterans. And of course, in 1996, the U.S. President Bill Clinton orders the VA to provide benefits to Vietnam veterans who develop prostate cancer or peripheral neuropathy. After a National Academy of Science report suggested there is a link between those diseases and Agent Orange exposure. By the way, the National Academy of Science said this 30 years ago. And this is in 1996. So, it's a constant battle for the veterans. Today, we see our veterans coming back. If you see veterans out there, walk up to them and say, thank you for your service. Because veterans will appreciate that. And to most of our veterans, every day is Veterans Day. We come back with PTSD. You got to remember something. A lot of us go there and we're trained to kill. But a lot of us also were religious people. We went to church. We learned the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. We get in a war, and right away we have to kill. Search and destroy, infantry. We go places, we find the enemy, we kill them. A lot of people come back, you see your fellas laying there with their arms tore off, their legs bleeding. You see their body parts even in the trees. And you come back and you realize, what the hell was this war about? Vietnam was an unpopular war. 30 years later, we find out there's a miscommunication between ships, and that the reason for going there actually was false. So when I hear things today, I question them. But there's one thing that I don't question, and that's the dedication I have to help the veterans today in this country. And that's why I started with the American Legion Veterans Views radio program, which has been running almost 15 years now. And thank God that we have our veterans, because if you don't have veterans, you don't have freedom in many countries today. I ask kids today, do you know the difference between communism and capitalism? They don't know. So it's our duty as veterans and as citizen soldiers to teach these children the difference between communism, capitalism, and why we fight for the liberties that we have. In a lot of countries, a woman cannot walk outside the door and even talk to anybody unless the male gets her permission. In other countries, the government runs the means of production. You can't own your own business. It's called communism. And today, we see a lot of things changing, and we must be continually aware of what is going on. Because if we're not, we're going to end up in the same boat a lot of these countries have ended up in. Now, I want to say this before I close. I like to say God bless our veterans. I like to say God bless all you people here. And I like to also say God bless America. And thank you for supporting our veterans. God bless you.
I'll call the Sergeant of the Guard and High traditional volley of three to honor our veterans. Please prepare yourself, the reports will be startling. After the volleys, taps will be sounded by our bugler. The sounding taps turn on all military installations at the retirement of our flag at sunset. It also symbolizes the end of a soldier's day and lights out. These 24 notes are also sounded at graveside to honor a veteran and let them know their duty is done. Rest in peace. At the sounding of taps and the command of presentiments by the Sergeant of Guard, we ask that all veterans to stand and salute. Everyone else, please place your right hand over your heart. The command to end the salute is Order Arms. Thank you all for attending and honoring our veteran in comments. Sergeant of the Guard, give our veterans the honor of volley 3. Flag guard, keep up. Port, horn. Look out, please. Post. Firing position. Ready, fire. Ready, fire. Ready, fire. Right, please. Present, horns. Order, horns.
Said he never knew his daddy, raised himself and his life was rocky. Grew up on the rougher side of town. He had some kids and many wives, tougher than nails from the trucker's life. I guess the highway was his only high. But he looked down and his eyes were water. They told a story of another day and time that I don't understand. Now he was best friends with my old man. They would talk about him now and then. They're fallen brothers from Vietnam. 13 stripes and 50 stars, they're flying high over the bar. And I've heard the stories they recall. And I've seen the toughest men cry down at the Legion Hall. the shelf was an old handbook. It told the things and the ways it took to be a Marine back in 42. But Grandpa took that book right out of Dad's hands. It's the last war and you don't understand. But he didn't know the next time was Vietnam. Now those 13 stripes and 50 stars are flying high over the bar. He told a story he knew so well, and I've seen the toughest men try down at the Legion Hall. Now the lady next to us is ordering rounds, and we all pitched in and threw one down. She just got word her son is coming home. But that flag will fly half-staff in the morning. And those 13 stripes and 50 stars are flying high over the bar. And he is the eagle above us all. And we prayed in silence down at the Legion Halls. Down at the Legion Halls.
Well, I just want to thank, again, everyone who attended. I thank the veterans who did the gun salute, the taps, and I just thank you for showing up to just remember and to remember to thank a veteran. And we wouldn't have the freedom we have to even have all this nonsense that's going on with the election, no matter what side you're on. We wouldn't have that right to even have a discussion in most countries. And I thank you, Pat, and I thank you all the servicemen that are here for that sacrifice. And that sacrifice and the pain that you carry with you from your loss of brothers. And, I just thank you. So have a great day, guys. Enjoy the weather before it changes around this area. And again, thank you for coming.